Senator Jeanne Shaheen, a prominent figure in New Hampshire politics, announced on Wednesday that she will not seek re-election in 2026, marking the end of a significant chapter in her long-standing political career. Shaheen, who has served 3 terms in the U.S. Senate, has been a trailblazer in the state, being the first woman to hold the office of governor in New Hampshire and the first woman in the United States to serve both as a governor and a U.S. senator. Her decision, delivered through a heartfelt video statement, has elicited reactions from lawmakers across the political spectrum. "This was a difficult decision, but after careful consideration, I believe it is time for me to step back," Shaheen stated. Her announcement has prompted reflections on her contributions to both New Hampshire and national politics. The New Hampshire Democratic Party expressed gratitude for her service, highlighting her focus on reproductive rights education and veterans' needs. NHDP Chair Ray Buckley commended Shaheen for being a dedicated advocate for her constituents, stating, "Senator Shaheen has delivered for our community's small businesses, veterans and families." Fellow Democrats were quick to recognize Shaheen's impact. Senator Maggie Hassan emphasized her role in building the New Hampshire Democratic Party and praised her advocacy for reproductive freedom and bipartisan solutions to pressing issues. Jeanne Shaheen has been a staunch advocate for reproductive freedom, for women and democracy here and abroad, Hassan noted. Representative Chris Pappas echoed this sentiment, recalling Shaheen's early influence on his political journey and her unwavering commitment to public service. In addition to local leaders, political figures from beyond New Hampshire also weighed in. Senator Ed Markey from Massachusetts lauded Shaheen as a champion for the Granite State, while organizations like Planned Parenthood of Northern New England hailed her efforts in advancing reproductive rights during her tenure. Shaheen's announcement also opens the door for a competitive race in 2026, with Republican leaders eager to capitalize on the opportunity. Senator Tim Scott, chair of the National Republican Senate Committee, declared Shaheen's decision as welcome news for Granite Staters seeking new leadership, reinforcing the notion that her departure may shift the political landscape in New Hampshire. Former Massachusetts Senator Scott Brown, now a New Hampshire resident, has already hinted at a potential run, emphasizing the need for a representative who aligns with Republican priorities. As the political ramifications of Shaheen's decision unfold, it also raises questions about the future direction of the Democratic Party in a state that has been a stronghold for them in recent years. With the political dynamics shifting and potential Republican candidates already gearing up, the race for Shaheen's seat promises to be contentious and closely watched. Looking ahead, Shaheen's legacy will undoubtedly leave an imprint on New Hampshire politics, with her departure serving as a moment of reflection for both supporters and challengers alike. As candidates emerge and campaigns begin to take shape, the 2026 Senate race will not only be a battle for a seat but also a contest of contrasting visions for the future of New Hampshire and the nation. In the evolving landscape of American politics, the intersection of personal convictions and party loyalty has never been more pronounced, particularly among conservatives grappling with the legacy of Donald Trump. A recent opinion piece by Dace Potas in USA Today highlights a critical discourse within the Republican Party where questioning and critiquing party leadership is often met with hostility. The author presents a compelling argument for the necessity of rigorous self-reflection and criticism among conservatives, positing that the party's future strength hinges on its ability to confront its deficiencies rather than blindly supporting its leaders. Potas begins by addressing the backlash he receives for his critiques of Trump and the Republican Party, often branded as a rhino or a Democrat in disguise. Yet he asserts that his conservative beliefs remain intact, emphasizing that constructive criticism is essential for the party's evolution. The GOP will become weaker if we are unwilling to point out its blemishes, he argues, underscoring the importance of maintaining a moral foundation and adhering to core conservative principles. The erosion of these principles, according to Potas, began with Trump's rise to the presidency, where power expansion and a disregard for established norms became commonplace. He laments the party's abandonment of its foundational beliefs in limited government and free markets, which has led to a troubling shift in policy and ideology. As he notes, the current GOP has embraced tariffs and a consolidation of power that diverges significantly from its traditional platform. This critique extends beyond party politics into the media landscape, where conservative outlets often provide cover for Republican leaders rather than critically engage with their actions. Potas highlights the detrimental effect this has on informed voter decision-making, arguing that a well-informed electorate is crucial for a functioning democracy. Holding conservatives to the proper standards is part of making conservatism stronger, he states, invoking the adage that iron sharpens iron. Potas's willingness to abstain from voting for Trump in the last two election cycles further illustrates his commitment to conservative principles over party allegiance. He contends that the long-term health of conservatism must take precedence over short-term electoral victories, a sentiment that resonates in light of the party's current trajectory under Trump's influence. The moral decline initiated by Trump's nomination, he argues, poses a far greater risk than the loss of a single election. As the Republican Party navigates its identity crisis in a post-Trump era, the implications of Potas's insights are profound. The urgency for introspection and reform is clear, particularly as the GOP faces challenges in maintaining its foundational values. The upcoming elections will serve not only as a referendum on individual candidates but also as a litmus test for the future direction of the party. In parallel, the political landscape is also shaped by ongoing legislative battles and international relations, notably exemplified by Trump's recent push to dismantle the U.S. Department of Education. As reported by BBC News, the department has announced significant workforce cuts amid Trump's plans to consolidate educational powers at the state level. This move, while popular among some conservatives who advocate for localized control, raises questions about the potential impact on educational equity and funding. Moreover, the European Union's swift response to Trump's new tariffs on steel and aluminum showcases the delicate balance of international trade relations. The EU's decision to implement countermeasures targeting U.S. goods underscores the global ramifications of Trump's trade policies, with potential repercussions for both American consumers and businesses. As the political landscape continues to evolve, the interplay between party loyalty and ideological integrity remains a critical area of focus. Whether the Republican Party can navigate its internal divisions and emerge with a renewed commitment to its core principles will likely define its prospects in the coming years. The future of American conservatism hangs in the balance, and the conversations initiated by voices like Potas's will be essential as the party seeks to reconcile its past with the demands of an increasingly complex political environment. In an unexpected turn of events, former New Hampshire Governor Chris Sununu is reportedly reconsidering a run for the U.S. Senate, a move that could significantly alter the political landscape ahead of the 2026 elections. Sununu, a prominent figure in New Hampshire politics, has previously opted to forego a Senate bid, instead focusing on his governorship and state-level issues. However, recent developments suggest that he is weighing his options more seriously this time around. Sources close to Sununu indicate that he has been engaged in discussions with key Republican leaders and potential donors, signaling a potential shift in his stance. "I've always said that public service is a calling, and if there's a path to continue serving the people of New Hampshire at the federal level, I'll consider it," Sununu stated in a recent interview. This suggests that his decision may hinge on the political climate and the viability of his candidacy against the incumbent Democrats. The backdrop to Sununu's reconsideration is the current climate within the U.S. Senate, where Democrats are grappling with a divided party as they prepare to tackle major legislative challenges, including government funding and budgetary concerns. On March 12, 2025, Senate Democrats met to debate their strategy moving forward, particularly regarding a looming government shutdown, which has created a sense of urgency among party members. The potential for a Republican challenger like Sununu could further complicate these dynamics, especially if his candidacy gains traction among constituents dissatisfied with the current administration. As the discussions unfold, Senate Democrats find themselves in a precarious position. They are faced with a choice: to align with Republican priorities or risk a shutdown that could have widespread implications for federal operations and public services. It's a delicate balance, said Senator Dick Durbin, emphasizing the need for unity within the party while also acknowledging the pressure from various factions. This internal struggle highlights the broader implications of political maneuvering in the face of pressing national issues. If Sununu decides to enter the Senate race, it may not only reshape his political future but also influence the balance of power in Congress. His popularity in New Hampshire, where he served as governor from 2017 to 2025, could provide him with a significant advantage in a state that often swings between parties in federal elections. Polling data indicates that a strong Republican candidate could tip the scales in favor of the GOP. Particularly in a year when voters are increasingly focused on economic concerns and government efficacy. As the situation evolves, the potential impact of Sununu's candidacy will be closely monitored by both parties. His experience and established presence in New Hampshire politics could energize the Republican base while simultaneously posing challenges for the Democrats as they navigate their legislative agenda. Ultimately, the decision Sununu makes in the coming weeks will not only define his political trajectory but could also play a pivotal role in shaping the future of Senate dynamics as the nation gears up for the next electoral cycle. In conclusion, as Chris Sununu mulls over his political future, the ramifications of his potential Senate run reach far beyond New Hampshire. With the Democratic Party already grappling with internal divisions and an uncertain legislative path, Sununu's entry into the race could significantly alter the political calculus for both parties. As the 2026 election approaches, all eyes will be on Sununu as he weighs his options and considers how best to serve the interests of his constituents, whether from the State House or the halls of Congress. In a significant legislative move, U.S. House Republicans have successfully passed a stopgap bill aimed at funding the federal government through September, a decision that underscores the ongoing budgetary challenges facing Congress. The bill, which received bipartisan support, is viewed as a necessary measure to avert a government shutdown and maintain essential services while lawmakers continue to negotiate a more comprehensive budget. This latest development comes on the heels of a broader struggle within the government to address funding discrepancies and operational requirements. Notably, the legislation is designed to ensure that federal agencies can operate smoothly without the immediate threat of financial uncertainty which has plagued political discussions in recent months. According to House Speaker Mike Johnson, this stopgap measure is about keeping our government running and ensuring that we meet the needs of the American people. The bill reflects a compromise that aims to balance differing priorities among lawmakers while navigating the intricacies of federal funding. Simultaneously, the House is making strides toward a potential vote on proxy voting for new parents, an initiative that seeks to provide flexibility for legislators who are navigating family responsibilities. This proposed change could pave the way for more inclusive participation in legislative processes, particularly for those who may face challenges in attending sessions due to personal circumstances. The discussions around proxy voting highlight a growing recognition of the need to adapt legislative practices to better reflect the realities of modern life. In a parallel political landscape, Iowa's 3rd Congressional District is poised for a competitive race in the upcoming 2026 election as 3 state legislators are contemplating bids for the Democratic nomination. This district has gained national attention, particularly following the narrow victories of incumbent Republican Zach Nunn in the past 2 elections. The potential candidates, Jennifer Confirst, Austin Baith, and Sarah Trone Garriott, each bring unique perspectives and experiences to the table. Their interest in running signifies the ongoing efforts of Democrats to regain footholds in areas where they have seen diminished representation. Jennifer Confirst, currently serving as the minority leader in the Iowa House, remarked on the critical need for representation that genuinely advocates for the interests of Iowans. Meanwhile, Austin Baith expressed the personal challenges of balancing family life with the demands of a congressional campaign, acknowledging the high stakes involved in this political battle. Sarah Trone Garriott, emphasizing her commitment to public service, indicated that she is seriously considering a run driven by encouragement from her community. The political dynamics in Iowa's 3rd District are complex, with recent voter registration numbers revealing a slight Republican advantage, yet the presence of a substantial number of independent voters could sway the outcome. As the race develops, it will be crucial for candidates to articulate their positions effectively and engage with constituents to address their concerns. As these political narratives unfold, they reflect a broader context of shifting power dynamics and the pressing need for responsive governance. The passage of the stopgap funding bill and discussions around proxy voting signal a willingness to adapt, while the potential congressional bids in Iowa illustrate the ongoing quest for representation that resonates with the electorate. Looking ahead, the implications of these developments will likely shape the political landscape significantly as lawmakers and candidates navigate the complexities of governance and public service in an ever-evolving society. In a significant ruling that underscores the ongoing legal battles over climate accountability, the U.S. Supreme Court has opted not to hear a case brought by 19 Republican-led states challenging climate litigation initiated by 5 Democratic states against major oil companies. This decision, made on March 12, 2025, marks the second time this year that the Supreme Court has declined to intervene in disputes related to climate lawsuits, reflecting a broader trend in judicial reluctance to engage in these contentious issues. The lawsuit, spearheaded by Alabama, sought to contest the legal actions taken by California, Connecticut, Minnesota, New Jersey, and Rhode Island, which aim to hold fossil fuel companies financially responsible for the impacts of climate change. The Republican states argued that these lawsuits seek to dictate the future of the American energy industry by imposing severe liabilities and remedies on energy companies, a claim that highlights the tension between energy policy and environmental accountability. In a 7-2 ruling, the court's majority emphasized that the matter under dispute was one for state courts, not the Supreme Court. Justice Clarence Thomas and Justice Samuel Alito dissented, with Thomas expressing concern that the court's decision not to hear the case leaves the plaintiff states without an avenue to vindicate their claims against the defendants. He argued that the Supreme Court has a constitutional duty to resolve disputes between states, especially when claims involve significant constitutional questions affecting many jurisdictions. The backdrop to this ruling is a landscape where climate litigation is on the rise. The number of climate-related lawsuits has nearly tripled since 2015 as states and municipalities increasingly seek to hold fossil fuel companies accountable for their contributions to climate change. The Supreme Court's refusal to take action in this instance follows a similar decision in January, when it declined to intervene in a lawsuit from Honolulu against oil giants seeking to address climate impacts. California and the other states involved in the litigation had previously contended that the Republican states did not meet the necessary criteria for the Supreme Court's jurisdiction. They argued that the claims were fundamentally about private rights rather than sovereign issues requiring the court's intervention. This perspective was echoed by Elizabeth Prelogar, the former U.S. Solicitor General, who characterized the lawsuit as an attempt to enjoin other suits rather than a legitimate dispute between states. The implications of the Supreme Court's decision extend beyond this specific case. By sidestepping this legal confrontation, the court reinforces the autonomy of states to pursue their claims against energy companies in lower courts, potentially emboldening future climate litigation efforts. However, the mixed outcomes of recent climate lawsuits illustrate the unpredictable nature of these legal battles. As the dialogue around climate change and corporate accountability evolves, this ruling may serve as a pivotal moment shaping how states approach environmental litigation in the future. With ongoing discussions regarding climate policy and fossil fuel regulation, stakeholders will be closely watching for how future judicial interpretations will influence the landscape of environmental law in the United States. The legal ramifications of climate change are far from settled, and this case underscores the complexities that arise when state interests, corporate practices, and environmental responsibilities intersect.